Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask? Please try and sit still. You know, if you're moving, you're putting coats on, and it really disrupts the energy of the meditation. All of those things should be done before you sit down to work. Because if people are moving like that, the whole vibration gets very difficult. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
I have sort of a question.
Yes.
So it's getting more and more difficult to stay in the hara. The more I do this sort of. Yeah, I don't exactly have a question.
Gender, there's a simple answer to that. You know, the deeper you go, the more resistance you're going to really find, because you're opening to energies that are so buried inside you for so many years that there's enormous amount of resistance. And that's the test. You know, getting more difficult is not a reason to stop working. It's all the more reason to continue to work on yourself so that you can master your inner life and you can learn how to stay centered in the hara. And then at the same time, you can deal with very difficult situations that manifest in life. But I've learned that, you know, the deeper you go, in many ways, the more difficult this becomes, because you really hit pockets of resistance that have been buried forever inside you. And then it takes the work. And by doing that kind of work, you get really strong inside. You really get strong. You learn how to master your tension, your mind, your emotions, your sexual energy. You learn how to master all these things so that these things continuously work for you instead of working against you. You know, at the beginning of this meditation, we have to deal with mostly surface tension. But once we get past the surface tension, then we get to the real tension inside us. The real problems that have conditioned our behavior today, that have gotten us into whatever state we're in today, you know, and I think
it's
that
2:00.
is really the major step we have to take. That really is to go deep enough inside that you are capable of mastering all that stuff, transforming it into positive energy. So getting more difficult doesn't surprise me. I mean, look, you know how difficult, you know, look at what I do in my life. You know how difficult it is for me to have to teach and sit in front of 20 some odd people, and each person is unique. And I have to go to a deeper place in myself in order to deal with every single person that's in this class. The only way I can do this, honestly, is years of training, years of having uncovered all those repressed energies and burning them up, transforming them, developing a chakra system that can do this. It's the only way. Otherwise, how is it possible to sit in front of 20 some odd people and do this kind of work? It's the training, it's years of doing it. It's the refinement of one's inner life. It's the willingness to be able to take upon oneself really difficult situations instead of finding an easy way out, you know? There's no easy way out. There's no easy way to get to God. You know, it's the hardest job on the earth to attain spiritual enlightenment. And in doing it, you're up against, you know, lifetimes of repression and anger and anxiety and guilt and things you developed inside yourself that mold your personality and your person today, that all have to be broken down. And if they're not broken down, then you go through lifetimes of living that way. Take all that karma from one lifetime to the next lifetime until you finally learn how to transform it into a spiritual life. So getting harder is okay, you know? I think getting easier is very dangerous. Becoming a master of the difficult is the best. And you can only become a master by mastering your inner life, getting it strong enough to transform the difficulties into chi, into positive energy, into energy of growth and, you know, spiritual development. And so I don't think what you expressed is a problem. I think it's an advancement because you're now beginning to tap much deeper sources of energy in yourself. It means you have to get stronger. You have to build a chakra system that's strong enough to deal with this. And it's easy to say, oh, well, you know, I'm going to run away from it. I don't need it. Who needs this? And many said, who needs it? You know, we can go live our lives. And I mean, I always used to kid around. I said, you know, I would love to be able to spend my time on a beach somewhere in the Bahamas with a Coco Loco and, you know, and live out my, you know, all right. I mean, some people, that's paradise. I mean, to me, it would probably be hell. But there's always that fantasy that somehow it's going to get easier. And I watched my own teacher, what he went through in life. It doesn't get easier. You just get stronger and more of a master inside yourself of all of these discordant energies and elements that test you as a human being. And what gets easier is your capacity to deal with these things. That's what gets easier because you become a master and you know how to transform them. And they no longer can, you know, really take you apart and create anxiety and crazy tension and all that other stuff. And to me, that is a joy. That really opens my heart. What really opens my heart is I don't have to deal with Stuart today that I had to deal with, you know, when I was 20 years old. I mean, just the thought of having to deal with that person is enough to say, Stuart, you have endless gratitude for the life that's developed. And my life is 1,000 times harder today than it was when I was 20. When I was 20, I'd stick out a thumb and hitchhike around the world. Didn't give a damn about anything, you know? Today, I have huge responsibility, pressure, and things on me that I have to do to work and grow. But the thought of going back to the way I was when I was 20, 25 years old is enough to just fill my heart with infinite layers of gratitude that I no longer have to live through that and go back to that way of living. I am free of that person. And how did I get free? Years of working and building an inner life that is strong enough to attain that kind of freedom. I hope that's clear, you know. Try to make it as simple, practical, and clear as I can possibly make it. You know, I don't want to talk in metaphysical language. It doesn't work and drives everybody crazy anyway. Everybody's trying to intellectually figure it out. I like to talk in just basic street language, you know, everyday language that people converse in. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart?
Yes.
I want just to say that somebody has microphone opened and be here when they done dishes. I know you said all the time to be careful, but one of
I don't understand. Initiated from who?
I see one Lauren Sunrise Risa or something has microphone open. And it's good to be careful.
I don't understand. You have to express it more simply.
One of us here has microphone open. His name is Lauren Sunrise or Risa. Do you hear me, Lauren?
What about it?
Because I heard when somebody washes dishes when we meditating.
Well, I always mute everybody, and then I ask people if they're not muted to mute themselves.
I know it's not your fault. He didn't see,
Right.
but he's smiling to me.
Lauren, so I don't know if people are washing dishes in your house, but next time be sure that you know that you're muted, okay? So there isn't that extraneous noise. Okay.
Okay, now my mic is on. So it was off. Thank you.
You know, everything is on now, but while the class is going on, everybody should make sure that they're muted so that there isn't all that extraneous noise. You know, it disturbs people. Although, you know, if you get scented, you know, bombs can be going off and you will be scented, you know? Somebody washing a dish. I mean, I used to have meditation in New York, right? I had a loft, a big loft, and we'd have meditation, and there were like 6 windows, big windows that were right out on the street. And sometimes police cars would come by, you know, with sirens and fire engines. And I used to tell people, look, you know, it's just a test. Can you get scented? Can you not be strong enough inside to not allow extraneous noise really bother you? No, it's not good when fire engines are going off and sirens are going off. People are screaming on the streets, you know, but if we get scented inside, you can detach yourself from all of that and you don't allow it to bother you. That's what the hara is for. That's what this 3rd chakra is, the grounding that enables you to detach yourself from a lot of things that go on in life. You know, people should mute themselves.
Yes.
Make sure they're muted in these classes. But if you happen to hear somebody washing dishes, just get more grounded. You can detach yourself. You don't have to get caught up in all that.
I tried. I did my best.
Well, then you need to get stronger, dear. That's all right. You need to grow more. You know, I mean it, you know. I'm telling you, I had this huge loft in New York, 4,000 square feet loft. And we had this big space where I used to have anywhere 30, 40, 50, 60 people would come to meditation every night. And sometimes fire engines would come by. It was New York City, you know, there's traffic, there's subways, there's this, there's that. And I would tell people, just use it to get more grounded and detach yourself from it. Don't let it draw you out of yourself. And it was a very good way to get strong, you know, it really was. I mean, I got really strong because of that stuff. It made me go deeper. Again, I was working with sometimes 50 people in a meditation class. I mean, there were classes where there were 80 people. I had people visiting me from all over the United States. And I'd have 80, 100 people in a class. And if a fire engine came by, I had to go deeper and not get caught up with the fire engine, you know, or the police car or whatever it was, you know. So use everything as a reason to go deeper and not as a reason to allow yourself to get caught up in the external world. Because there's more, if you'll pardon my expression, there's more bullshit in the external world to test us and to keep us from being balanced. So the whole purpose of the meditation is to build the inner strength that enables you to get strong enough to detach yourself from all these things. And I think it's an incredible thing to learn, you know? We stop being bothered by nonsense, you know? And we're really centered and grounded inside. And then we can do our life, not according to nonsense, but according to what we need to do to grow and to live consciously in the world. I applied these things to business, you know? I mean, there was so much crap that used to go on in business that I had to get really grounded to cut through it all to make decisions about what I wanted to do with my business. And all of that worked to help me grow, you know? People's greed, people's this, that, the bad-mouthing, the this, the yakking, the gossiping, I couldn't stand it. I said, all right, Stuart, you got to get more grounded. And then all of it just faded away. It didn't mean anything to me. I just took care of what I had to do. There's something before we end the class, there's just something I have to say that I think is really important. I take up maybe an hour and 15 minutes of people's time in this class. And I think people should really relegate that time, unless, something happens with your computer or your telephone and it goes off and but if people leave early because they have another appointment, another date, I think it's an insult to the class. And I think people should really relegate the time. Say, okay, I have to spend an hour and 15 minutes learning this. Because to leave, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of like an insult to what's going on here. And I think people have to learn this. If you tell me, like Laura has a son and sometimes she has to leave because of a babysitter, but she tells me all the time that I'm going to do that. Okay, I understand that. But just to disappear, I think is not good taste. And I think it's not a good way to approach this class. As I say, if your computer goes out or the Wi-Fi is bad or something happens, there's nothing we can do about that. But to just leave in the middle of a talk, in the middle of, and there's almost more energy sometimes in these talks than there is in the actual class. I think people have to respect that. Otherwise it gets silly, when I used to have classes where people came to the center, nobody left. They came, they spent an hour and a half, and they didn't leave. Here, everybody is all over the world and they're sitting in their own bedroom. And all right, I'll turn it off. I got to go do something now. I got to go wash the dishes or something, And I think it's not a good idea and it really disrupts the class. And another reason I say this is I'm sitting and working with somebody and somebody leaves and I don't even know they're leaving. And the whole group of people changes. And so I'm working with one person and suddenly I'm looking at somebody else. And the person I'm working with is in another part of the screen. And the whole thing gets really, it's not good. It's not good. And I think there should be a respect. And I think the people that have left should be here listening to this. But I think it's something that is really important. And I think it makes the class go deeper and it shows a respect for the work. I can allocate another 10 minutes to being here so I can get the full benefits of what is going on. And I wouldn't say this unless I see this happening more and more, with people. And I don't think it's a good idea. And I think it really disrupts the energy of the meditation class. It's really committing another 10 minutes, to a class. And it just helps not only myself, but everybody else that's here. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, anyway, God bless you all. Thank you for being here. And I'm just very grateful we do this. I'm very grateful to see the commitment that you all have made to this. And I hope that we can continue doing this.